for watching this one. Okay, all right, cool. Our ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Klinton, and I am live here at the Bernabeu. Keep watching the Sporty Show.
Into the Sporty Show. I am Sara, joined by the one, the only, the tallest man in Madrid. It's Alex Ashmore today.
Yes, good to be here. There's no Klinton. He's run off. Where has he gone?
Well, you know what? I don't know, but I can tell you this will be a calm show. This will be a relaxing show for all of you.
We might even get to speak.
Let's see. Let's see. Let me also introduce to you the one and only, all the way from Accra. It's Gary joining us.
Hello, hi.
Gary, it's been so long. How are you?
Yes, just a few days, but yes, it's been so long.
A few days. I don't know the last time we spoke to you. I feel like it's been a week.
I think it was before the Arsenal-Atalanta game from memory.
Ooh, and before the City and Arsenal match as well. It's been a busy, there's a lot to talk about with you, Gary, I think.
Yeah, quite a bit.
How are you doing, though? Everything good?
Yeah, everything fine. Still buzzing after the City Arsenal game. Still buzzing after that.
I'm sure we'll get into it. We will get into it. All right. Well, if you're wondering where Klinton Cod is, he's actually at the Santiago Bernabeu, but he can't say Bernabeu. He is there ahead of the Madrid and Deportivo Alavés game tonight. A big one in the city. Klinton, are you with me?
Hola, hola, ¿cómo estás? Right, I'm literally right here at the Bernabeu. Now, Alex and what did I just forget Sarah's name, for Christ's sake? Like, listen. I heard all the gossip. It's not going to be a quiet show. No, listen to me. It's not going to be a quiet show. You're going to be hearing my voice, and I'm going to be so loud. Ala Madrid! Whoa, what's up? What's going on, man? What's going on at the Sporty Show? Talk to me, boys.
Hey, listen, Klinton, we're here. We're waiting for you. So, Real Madrid are playing Deportivo Alavés tonight, obviously. And one thing you told me is you said, I can't wait for the day that Real Madrid lose at the Santiago Bernabeu. Do you think it's going to happen this evening?
I mean, I don't think it's going to happen because I feel like this team they are playing tonight is not one of the ones I would say they are the real teams, okay? I'm waiting for Sunday where it's going to be Atletico Madrid. It's going to be Atletico facing Real Madrid. That's going to be the first test for Real Madrid. I mean, this season, the gameplay for Real Madrid has been very funny. Like, it's not really been the best. They have Mbappe, you have Bellingham, you have Vinicius. Obviously, when Mbappe came, everybody thought that any team that faces them are dead. But the truth is, most of the teams are facing, they are really little teams, but they've not really been giving us what we have been expecting. This evening is probably going to be an easy win for Real Madrid. Maybe the first half, as usual, is going to be very tough because all teams, they kind of pose some level of toughness for Real Madrid. But second half, as usual, ref is going to assist a bit, and then boom, it's going to be a win for Real Madrid. But yeah, today is going to be easy for them, 100%.
Will there be another penalty for Real Madrid this evening, Klinton?
Might probably not be from Hendrik. It might be from some other person. Who knows? Ala Madrid!
Alex,
man.
we have the lineups here. Thibaut Courtois, Lucas Vázquez, Eder Militao, Rudiger, Ferland Mendy, Fede, Tchouaméni, Bellingham, and up front, Rodrigo, Mbappe, and Vinicius Jr. You had said that Ancelotti was suggesting that Hendrik would get the start against Espanyol or this match Alavés, and no Hendrik is in sight.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I was expecting to see Hendrik. I think, he said, like you said, he would have started one of them. I think perhaps it is a case with Bellingham similar with the front forward. He wants to get them playing together. He wants to give them as much practice as they can. Like Klinton said, it's an important game on Sunday. So, yeah, I'm not too surprised to see Endrick, but I would like to see him maybe earlier on in the second half.
All right. Klinton, what do you think about this lineup? Your usual three suspects up front, Rodrigo, Vinny, and Kylian Mbappe.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did an experiment last time they had their game on Saturday. They have Vinny coming from the bench, and there was some kind of toughness for Real Madrid. Now, I would not blame, this man should take his time for real, because I'm going to punch somebody live on the SportyShow. But I feel like Ancelotti is just not wanting to take risk, because obviously the front three, Mbappe, Vinicius, and Rodrigo, they are the best when it comes to Real Madrid playing. So, I mean, like Alex said, it's best for them to have this training going on, especially knowing that they have a tough game coming on Saturday. This might be the wrong game to start doing that kind of test. But then again, I would also support Alex saying Endrick should probably come on earlier than when they usually make him come on. The fact is he's posed a very serious threat. It's either he scored a goal or he's helped in giving some kind of free penalty, which obviously the last one shouldn't be, but at least on paper, he cost a goal. So Endrick should be the guy they should be giving at least maybe half an hour, 20 minutes in the game, not the usual 5 minutes until before the game ends, he comes in. So yeah, but whatever decision Ancelotti has taken today, he's always made the right decisions. Right, okay, they are getting on my nerves, like slowly. But yeah, I agree with you, Alex. Let's see what happens this evening with Endrick being on the bench and coming on later.
All right, brilliant, Klinton. Well, we'll check back in with you in about 25 minutes to see what the fans are saying outside the Bernabeu. Give us more of a vibe as we ramp up. All of a sudden I've made that word Spanish, to the Real Madrid and Deportivo Alavés match. Okay, so Klinton, we'll chat with you shortly. Go speak to some fans. Tell us what the vibe's going to be.
Ala Madrid!
All right, yes, guys. Real Madrid, Alavés. But after this show, immediately after this show, we have Aston Villa and Wickham coming up in the Carabao Cup. We will preview that match closer to time. But let's dive into a little bit here. Real Madrid, LaLiga, Barcelona, all of it. Let's start with Real Madrid. They're winning this game tonight, Alex.
I think so. When you look at how Alavés has started this season, they've done quite well. They're sitting in the top half. These clubs always, I say it every time they come to the Bernabeu, this is perhaps their biggest game of the season. Mm-hmm. They want to prove a point. They want to make the most out of this opportunity. For some of these players, this will be the first time playing at the Bernabeu, so it's a big opportunity for them. So I think when you look at a game like this, Alavés will come out with the point to prove, but I think Real Madrid, like we saw against Espanyol, like we've seen against quite a lot of teams this season, they'll be too good for Alavés. I think we're also slowly starting to see Real Madrid get into a groove. Yes, they're not playing their best football, but they are scoring the goals when the opportunities arrive. So, yeah, I think it'll be an easy win for Real Madrid, but they'll have to work for it a little bit in the first half. But once they get through that, tough 30 minutes, they should get the win.
Gary, talk to me a little bit here, because we haven't seen you, like I mentioned, in a few days now. We haven't seen you since before Real Madrid played their first Champions League match against Stuttgart and played Espanyol over the weekend. What are your thoughts about Madrid? Lots of controversy still surrounding this team, maybe surrounding one Endrick and one penalty, or maybe not penalty.
Well, yeah, evidently. I mean, yes, I have not been here for the Champions League watch-alongs, so yeah, it's been about a couple of days. But I think the Madrid squad currently looks things in areas of the pitch, and what it will do is to test Ancelotti's management. And remember that this is going to be a busy period. There's quite a lot happening in LaLiga, Champions League, also in the Cups as well. Ancelotti therefore rotated considerably for this weekend's win over Espanyol, and it was expected that there'll be further alterations for this midweek clash with the Madrid derby looming this coming weekend. And I think that's why he probably has rested Carabao, because he doesn't want to take risks. Jude Bellingham is slowly becoming the type of guy who would tell the manager, I'm fine, it's just a knock, right? You just get a sense that the guy, if he's 80%, he's going to tell the manager that, Gaffer, don't worry about it. I'm fine. We can go. But he has age on his side, so he can do that. I mean, eventually when he turns 35, 33, he cannot be playing those games. But it's good for him. He wants to put every game to the test as quickly as possible. And as a neutral who likes football, and especially for Real Madrid fans as well, they'll be happy that the man they like to call belly goal is raring to go and stuff like that. On to the controversy. Look, we are seeing lots being said about Manchester City and how one Michael Oliver has never given them a red card before. But if you drill down to the substance of it, for example, the whole Manchester City conspiracy, it's not like Man City gets more than one red card a year. So obviously, it's not like there are 10 red cards every year for Manchester City in the last 10 years, and Michael Oliver never gives them one. Sometimes when you drill down to these basics and some of these conspiracies involving the top firing teams like Real Madrid, like Manchester City, it's not that complicated. Yes, I get why the penalties sometimes can be suspect. And I think maybe if you look at the last 3 penalties that they've got, 1 or 2 are very iffy, but it comes with the territory. I think that when teams want to beat you fair and square, they probably should do a better job of doing that. However, if I am Real Madrid, I'll be looking at these conspiracies and be quietly working on other ways to win games other than these penalties. Because, you see, there's a category of referees who will come into games and will not be in the mood to be one of those said to be perpetrating or pushing this conspiracy. So, as human as they are, they would come, and if even it's a stonewall penalty that is probably 70% sure, 30% not sure, they'd say, nah, I don't want to be part of this controversy, and so they'll not give it. If it's not a clear and obvious thing that VRA is going to check, you know what I'm saying? So they should find other ways, creative ways to score that are not reliant on penalties, and then some of these conspiracies will go away. However, hey, for Alavés, they will look to break this unbeaten streak. Was it 38 games not beaten at the Bernabeu, right? So it should be fun and interesting to watch tonight. Yeah.
Markinde, friend to the show, says, we haven't seen Gary in a century. Gary, that's how I was feeling.
Oh,
he said,
that's a lot.
Real Madrid are going to win 4-0 tonight. If you guys head over to our Twitter page, go and vote on this poll. Who's going to score first for Real Madrid? Will it be Vinny, Mbappe, Bellingham, or someone else? Maybe it could be like Alavés, like we saw.
Sarah, Alex, what do you say about? I mean, talking about Real Madrid, we have spent the better part of 4 months previewing Ballon d'Or and the fact that Real Madrid are the shoe-in favorites, and then we hear that Marca or Marca have announced that a Man City player is winning it with 34 days to go. Eek.
I also saw Marca say that Vinicius Jr. is believing that he will now win the Ballon d'Or because that certain Man City player has been ruled out for the rest of the season. Gary, you have to take these things with a grain of salt, I think, because it doesn't really seem to line up. One day they come out with this, the next day they come out with that. In my opinion, though, you should not be voting. And I know you're voting, Gary. You should not be voting based on an injury that a player has picked up this season when it is not based on this time. I do really hope that people don't vote in that sense, because that's not how this works. I mean, I think we've spoken about it. I think the 2 players for me that should be up there are Rodri and Carvajal. And I think we all agree that Carvajal, based on what he's won, should win it. Vinny, I'm sorry. I know you've done so much, but you didn't do anything with Brazil. And it comes down to that. It does, in my opinion. But we'll see. Maybe we'll get to hear who Gary voted for once it's all done.
Gary, what's it going to take
so
for
mine
you
is
to vote for a certain
mine is not. I could give you a preview.
Maybe?
I mean, I could give you a preview. Give you a preview, but mine is not the Ballon d'Or. It's FIFA the best. So Ballon d'Or is my other colleague. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's not Ballon d'Or. FIFA the best.
FIFA
which
the best
comes a bit later.
Yes. Okay, so you have more time. Yeah, Alex is trying to bribe you over here through the television to say to vote for an Englishman. Stop it. Stop it. All right, let's move along here. Let's see what Real Madrid can pull off. I do think they will have a win. But really quickly as well, we actually will also be at the Civitas Metropolitano on Sunday. Alex, Klinton, and I are going to the Metropolitano to watch the Madrid derby. This one should be really exciting. We're going to present you guys some sort of vlog of what it was like to be there, what the score is, who we get to speak to, all of that. But it should be fun.
It should be. It should be a good game. Madrid derbies always are. I think as much as Real Madrid and Barcelona fans may disagree, I actually think this derby is a little bit more feisty when it comes to, obviously the Clásico is one of the biggest games in football. I think the feistiness in the Madrid derby is just that little bit above the Clásico, and it's always a great game to see, whether it's at the Bernabeu or the Metropolitano. And I know Atleti are always up for a game against Real Madrid, and they want to prove that they belong in the city of Madrid as the #1 team.
There you go. Yeah, this one I'm really excited about. Well, let's stay in La Liga for a little bit and talk about Barcelona, because they are in action tomorrow against Getafe. But this Barcelona team, Gary, since I last saw you, we lost a keeper, and the injury list grows for Barca. Really quickly as it stands, Barca are without Gavi, Frankie de Jong, Dani Olmo, Marc Bernal, Ter Stegen, Ronald Araujo, Christensen. I mean, it's just, and Fermin Lopez, pardon me. But I mean, it's there. Yep, thank you so much. Seven players. And most of these players are also starters. They are not, your Messiah players coming up. I mean, even Marc Bernal was getting the start for Barcelona in pretty much every game before he picked up that ACL injury. But it's really unfortunate to see this, as myself being a Barca fan. But one thing, Alex, you brought up was the fact that without Ter Stegen, they might be able to sign a few. It's comical at this point, isn't it? They might be able to sign a few of these players, Andreas Christensen and Dani Olmo. But they could also potentially be looking for a keeper come January window. Yes,
well, I heard that they were looking for a certain retired keeper, Wojciech Szczesny.
I heard that as well.
One of your former Arsenal players there, Gary. I think. I don't think. Yeah. I think for the moment they'll probably.
I'm sure. With... Look, if I am Szczesny, I am responding to that call now.
I'm picking up the phone if I'm Szczesny.
Well, did you guys hear Claudio Bravo said he'd also come out of retirement to come play for Barcelona? Remember, he only retired just last year. Listen, I'm not going to lie to you. I'd take him in a heartbeat. He'd probably come and just hang out. Knows the team. He's a brilliant, I think he's one of the most underrated keepers in this generation of football, because there have been such greats like, Gigi, obviously, Neuer, Thibaut Courtois, but Claudio Bravo has played across all of Europe and is a fantastic, not only keeper, but leader and captain for some of these teams he's played for. I'd welcome him right back in. Come on in. Come on in.
I think if I was making the decisions of Barcelona, I'd probably take Szczesny over over Bravo, just because he's played professional football a little bit more recently. Mm-hmm. And when you're a goalkeeper, that is, I think one of the biggest things is getting game time. And I also think Bravo is a little bit too prone to making an error here and there. And I think that's the last thing Barcelona need with all these injuries. I also think when you look at the situation of Real Madrid last season with Lunin, there was a lot more, I think, confidence in Lunin to do well, whereas now, obviously, with the Sagan injury, perhaps the confidence in the backup options, they want to bring someone in. So I think Szczesny would be a good option. No, I'm talking about comparing the two situations between Courtois getting injured and then having more faith in Lunin, I think, whereas Barcelona perhaps will want to bring someone in.
I think so too. I do not want to rely on Iñaki Peña. That's my opinion, though. But Gary, how do you think this is going to affect the Barcelona team that has started off their La Liga campaign so strongly? Obviously, that hiccup in the Champions League with Eric Garcia getting the red card and Barcelona losing their first Champions League match to Monaco was not what they wanted to achieve. But what do you see for Barcelona right now with all these injuries?
Well, what I see is a difference that coaching can make. And I think we saw it in the game against Real. I tweeted that Barcelona basically played 3/4 of their backline, rotated as much as they did, and smashed Villarreal this bad some said that Villarreal didn't take their chances in the game. And so if you watch the full 90 minutes, it was not as easy as the scoreline suggested. But still, fact of the matter is that they won by that number of goals to 1. That's the fact of the matter. And I think that, Hansi Flick was or has been disrespected because of a blip he had in his career. And because it was Bayern Munich, people just refuse to acknowledge just how good he was and what he did with that team. But Guy is a proper coach. Like, he's forensic in his preparation. He knows exactly what he wants from them. And the testimony from the players, who are professional, by the way, obviously, if there was any coach who came in, they are going to glow and sing glowingly and speak well about the person. However, I think Hansi Flick is really, really doing a good job of them. And if I were a Barca fan, I would not be too worried. He knows exactly what he's doing with the team. With 7 players injured, he looks at what he has in his bench. And I know that they are stretch thing, but I would trust if I were a Barca fan in the coach and what they are able to do. Obviously, pound for pound, your first choice players are what you'd want all the time. But short of playing a Real Madrid or a Manchester City or a certain caliber of team every week, I'd be pretty confident that Hansi Flick will be able to put out a starting 11 that can do the job. I'll be that confident in him. And I trust what he's doing that much, and the fact that the Barca players understand his instruction and are willing to do or go a bit extra in their tactical evolution for what they want to do. So I'll not be too worried, even though obviously 8 players is a lot to have this early out in the starting 11.
I will contradict myself a little bit just because I agree with what you're saying, Gary. Hansi Flick has come in and really focused on the physicality of this team, which was something under Xavi really noticeably different. Players were getting injured, but a lot of it was coming out of training. Right now, I think players are getting injured because of the amount of football that's being played, especially some of these youngsters. They were over in the Euros doing all of that, playing all of those 7 matches as well. But you notice these players, they look faster, they look stronger, and that is that Hansi Flick mentality that has really come in and helped change Barca. What's good is that Gavi, Fermin Lopez, and Frankie de Jong are meant to be back in 3 weeks' time. That's massive in the middle there. I think Gavi is a player that they're screaming for Barcelona, especially Hansi Flick, because he's that kind of aggressive pest that, will bother anyone on the pitch. So that's great. But before we move along to the Carabao Cup, Gary, I want to ask you one thing, and that one thing is that pass from Lamine Yamal. Klinton wanted to speak about it a lot yesterday, and we didn't have time, so I'm going to let you praise the youngster one more time.
We are running out of superlatives for the youngster, and even Cristiano was said on his podcast that this guy, without injuries, if he goes injury free, he's going to have he's going to give us a show reel of highlights. By the time he's 20 years, by the time he's 23, it's going to be a joy. And as a football fan, purely, I can't wait for him to keep dishing them out every week, because we've missed that in the world of football, a special player like that, and we deserve at least once in a generation to have that. The other guy who was like him is leaving the game, and there's Kevin De Bruyne and others, but we know the other guy I'm talking about, and it would be nice to have another one come out of La Masia like the other guy who's on the other side of the Atlantic right now.
all this talk, all this secretive chat we've done all show. Him, that one I'm talking about. Oh my goodness. All right, Alex.
He who must not be named.
Yeah, he who must not. That is literally him. He who must not be named. Yes. All right, let's jump over from La Liga to the Carabao Cup because, yes, like I mentioned, top of the show, Aston Villa in action right after the Sporty Show today against Wickham, Alex. Did I nail that pronunciation?
Yes, it was good. It was good. Cup games are always fun for the lower league side. It's a chance for them to play against Premier League opposition. They're welcoming Aston Villa to their home. It's obviously a chance for the fans to go along and see some Champions League players. Obviously, whether they'll play is another thing. But I think these games, as a fan of a small team in England as well, these are what you look for. These are what you live for as a small club in England. So it's a great opportunity for them to put on a show and try and pull off an upset. And I think also for Aston Villa, perhaps the Carabao Cup is at the at the bottom of their long list of priorities this season, what with the Premier League and the Champions League now.
Well, let's talk about that, because Villa right now, third in the Prem. They've only lost to one team, in fact, Mr. Gary's Arsenal. They started off their European campaign confidently, beating Young Boys 3-0. Unai Emery is really starting off the season strong with Villa. Yes, they haven't really experienced any adversity yet, but I will assume they will shortly, like every team seems to be so far who plays a lot of football. But Gary, Aston Villa looking promising so far.
Well, yeah, 4 wins on the spin, Villa. And they are beginning this EFL Cup campaign, and they are going away. I think it's a good experience, like Alex said, for a couple of players. Very good excuse for Unai Emery to be able to try a couple of things, And I don't know about Emery and what he wants to do, but definitely it's a chance to do 2 things: imbue some confidence into some of those guys who have been injured in the team or are not getting playing time, while ensuring that some of the regulars also sort of increase their confidence. If you are a regular goal scorer, maybe you can get 2 goals off Wickham, and so on and so forth. Those are what cup games are for these Champions League sides. So yeah, what can I say? Unai Emery is a proper cup man, and I think he'll know exactly what to do. He shouldn't think out the team too much, because I was reading some of the comments of those who like to bet, and they were like wagging the finger at him, that guy, we need this win. We need this win, so you better not.
Roland says here, this is the chance for Watkins to pick up the pace. Yeah, I think a lot of eyes will be on Ollie Watkins this season. We know what he was capable of last season, but now competing in the Champions League as well. It could be huge for him, because I think we all know the potential this player has.
Yeah, I think he's starting to pick up really good form. Obviously, he's, I've noted it. I've had him in my football fantasy team for the last 5 weeks. He hasn't been getting the goals, and now he's getting the goals. So I'm glad I kept him in there. It's good to see him doing well. He's obviously had that chance for England. He did brilliantly at the Euros, the little opportunity that he did get. And I think I'd love to see him continue in this vein. Obviously, rested tonight, not playing, saving him for the weekend. But I think this season, if he has a good season, I know Aston Villa are a Champions League club. They're a big club, but who knows, we could see him move on to an even bigger club, perhaps like a Manchester United or maybe even a Chelsea.
Is Manchester United bigger than Aston Villa? That's the question. But really quickly, we'll jump back to Aston Villa in a moment. Let's head to the Santiago Bernabeu, because Klinton Codd is joining us, and he's with a fan. Klinton, talk to me.
Listen, right now, the buzz is going like wildfire. Like, everyone is excited. People actually believe that the win is for Real Madrid this evening. I spoke to one of the fans from Deportivo Alavés. This is meant to be a serious fan. I said to him, what do you think would be happening tonight? And he lacks extreme confidence. He said, my team would win, but it's going to be a 1-1. And I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? That means you're going with only 1 point. And he said, well, this team, they are too strong for us, but we are just coming here to cheer. By the way, we have a super fan standing next to me. He's a proper Ala Madrid boy. Talk to me, big man. What's your expectation for today's game?
The enemies today will play about the draw. We always play to win.
Man said they always play to win. Sara, Alex, talk to me. What do you want me to ask this tall young man standing next to me?
I want to ask how tall he is, because Alex Ashmore should be interviewing him, not you. Alex, the truth is, when I saw him, I felt like, yeah, I am the wrong man to talk to this man standing next to me. But oh well, I'm used to standing next to Alex, sitting next to Alex, and it's no longer a threat to me. How tall are you, big man?
Something like 2 meters.
I mean, he said something like 2 meters.
Maybe 2 centimeters less, but...
All right, Klinton, ask him about
Talk to
the
me,
situation.
Right? What do you think is going to be... Okay.
No, sorry. Ask him about the situation at Real Madrid
Sorry, go
and
on.
all the penalties that they are given when he says Real Madrid are always playing to win, but that doesn't really translate in the football that we are seeing so far this season.
Okay, so I have a question coming directly from our TV channel, SportyTV. It's actually the Sporty Show right now, yeah? How do you feel about the goals, all the wins that you have been having in this stadium, all the penalties that's been issued to Real Madrid, the ones that we believe are supposed to be penalties and the ones that are absolutely not penalties? Talk to me, tall man. What is your take on that?
Guys, win is a win. We can shoot penalty, we can shoot normal goals, but we always need to win.
Listen, I mean, the energy here is we don't care. So far we get the win, everybody comes out happy. That's all we care about. Personally, I think it's all fraud. But then again, let's see what happens this evening. I'm a Real Madrid fan. Ala Madrid! Ala Madrid! But if it goes to them kind of penalties and that's how we win, no, I'm not proud of that kind of win. Let's see what happens. Let me actually ask this young man what he thinks the scoreline is going to be this evening.
Probably 2-1 in the last minutes, but
Penalty to Madrid.
Bellingham, of course Bellingham, and maybe Lucas Vazquez.
Wait, he said Bellingham and Lucas Vazquez. He didn't mention Vinicius Jr. He didn't even mention Mbappe. He didn't mention Rodrigo. Man said Lucas Vazquez. And who?
Bellingham.
Oh, and Bellingham. Right, okay. Well, Sara, Alex, Gary, you can hear the tall man. The tall man says 2-1 to Real Madrid. And Sara, you know how the 2 is going to come.
Yeah, it's going to be the 85th minute. Penalty a favor de Real Madrid. Penalty a favor de Real Madrid.
And the penalty is probably going to come from Endrick again this time. Who knows? Because that's what he's been paid to do.
No, shameless. We're shameless over here. Alex, do you have anything to ask Mr. Klinton before we send him on his way?
I mean, firstly, I agree with the tall man. I think, Bellingham would be a lovely opportunity for him to score and get back into that groove. Klinton, for you, obviously, it's a big game on Sunday for Real Madrid. Do you think that perhaps there's a risk that they're overlooking Alavés and not paying too much or not paying enough attention to a team like Alavés?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, the truth is, first of all, you need to trust Ancelotti. You know whatever Ancelotti does, for some reason, he's always right. Like, you would think he's going south or he's going north, but somehow he ends up copying the win. Now, Sunday is a very important game, and I believe that whatever happens today would not affect what happens on Sunday. Now, I would think that because Real Madrid, they've had some of the really low league teams in the LaLiga the whole of this season, and somehow it feels like Real Madrid, they've not really shown us that Real Madrid capabilities. They've not shown us the kind of people who are playing for that team. They've not showed us what Mbappe is made of just yet. But I believe that on Sunday, when they face a team like Atletico Madrid, they would rise up. They will show us the reason why it's Real Madrid. And that's my hope. As a Real Madrid fan, that's something I'm hoping would happen on Sunday. But I mean, it's going to be myself, you, and Sara witnessing that one. So let's wait until then, bro.
All right, Klinton, thank you so much. And thank you to our tall Madridista over there. Enjoy the game. And we'll see you back in the studio tomorrow.
All right, well, you guys enjoy, and I will see you guys soon. Everywhere.
Now I know what it's like seeing Klinton standing next to me.
No, but you're even taller.
Yeah,
so
but it's funny to see the comparison.
It is funny to see also how tall he was just in general, because that really was, you don't see many people as tall as you or even close to. So that would have been the perfect interview for you. We lost out. Well, maybe we'll find him again next time we're at the Bernabeu.
But how tall is Alex? Like,
dear, you don't even want to know. No, go on, Alex.
In feet, I'm 6'9". In centimeters, 206.
you are what? What? Wait, who is 6'9"?
LeBron James.
LeBron James is 6'9".
Believe it or not, I'm average height for the NBA.
Yeah. But no, but that's something. Wow, congratulations, right?
Thank you. I'll put it on my CV.
No, we should one day do a photo
Exactly.
of all of us beside each other to promote the Sporty Show, because you usually see us here behind a desk. But we all should do it, and it's just going to be, Klinton, myself, Gary, Alex.
Alex.
Yeah, exactly. All right, yeah, let's see. Markinde really not happy here. He says, Sarah, you have issues with Real Madrid penalties. No, honey, everyone in the world does. And he also says Klinton is not a Real Madrid fan. Tell him to retract his statement. Listen, I'll tell you this much. Klinton's a fan of every team possible winning right now, so don't take it personally, Markinde. What I will take personally before heading back to Aston Villa here is you said, referring to Lamine Yamal. Before it was Boyan, later it was Ansu Fati, now it's Lamine Yamal. Don't kill the innocent boy. Match load is getting too much. He won the Euros at 17 years old. He's the youngest player to score in LaLiga. He's the youngest player to score in the Champions League or play in both. This guy is recreating things only Lionel Messi has done. Don't ever compare him to Ansu Fati, and don't ever compare him to Bojan Krikic. Por favor. All right, that's all I need to say. Let's get back to Aston Villa. Unai Emery. Alex, do you want to give us a score prediction for this match? And then we'll jump to some Man City chat.
I'm going to go 3-1 Villa.
Yeah, and an easy win should be a rotate. Actually, we do have the lineups. Let me give you guys the lineups quickly before we move along, because wow, at the helm right now, John Duran for Aston Villa, and what a season he's had so far. Some amazing goals for Aston Villa, but it's Gauchi in the back, Maatsen, Swinkles, Bogard, Nedeljkovic, it's always these Eastern European names, Nedeljkovic, Barkley, Buendia, Onana, Young, Duran, and Bailey. And for Wickham, Ravizzoli in the back, Skura, Lowe, Hatridge, Pattenden, Scowen, Butcher, Baconson, and up front, Wheeler, Lubala, and Sadilier. Sadier, sorry. All right, well, I think this should also be a Villa win, but Man City are also in action in the Cup this evening. They are taking on, and I've already lost Watford, a team we once knew so well in the Premier League. Gary, we spoke about a one-Man City player that might be in contention for the Ballon d'Or. And let's just talk about it a little bit, because yesterday we ran out of time and we weren't able to talk so much about the fact that Man City have lost arguably their most important player, Rodri, out for the season with an ACL tear. This is heartbreaking for football.
It is, but again, as poetic as this sport is, and as sport can be, it has happened to the one player who has been complaining the most at the highest level about the number of games. So immediately you saw that, you said, oh shoot, this is exactly what he's been complaining about for. How long has he been talking about this, Sarah? How long has Rodri been talking about the sheer number of games? And what is the statistic about Rodri not being injured? He's been injured for what? Before now, he had been injured for a maximum of a ridiculously low number of games before now, and now he's out for arguably the whole season. Nothing illustrates that we are playing too many games than this guy being injured in such a fashion. And it's a shame for football, like you said. But how does it affect Man City? They are so good, they are so deep in terms of the squad size and quality that apart from the biggest level games, the games with the biggest stakes, I'm talking Champions League quarterfinal, semi-final, Premier League run-in when it's getting to the crunch, I think that they should be fine without Rodri. Man City are that good. If Arsenal were able to put out a very competitive squad despite all their injuries and still beat Spurs, Real Madrid are being able to do it just despite whatever is happening with them. Barcelona are finding a solution. Then you know that Manchester City, arguably one of the top two teams in Europe when it comes to squad depth, should be able to survive without Rodri. Thing is, he brings a certain oomph that they will obviously miss now that he's not there.
Composure, even.
Composure, steez. and composure. Steez, he makes them very demure. You know what I'm saying?
I hate that. You know what's so
Very
funny is
good
that
stuff.
Alex knows, because I've been complaining to him more than anyone, that trend on social media drives me
Very
bananas.
cutesy.
I don't know what it
He
is,
makes
but
them very cutesy. It makes them very cutesy, very demure.
oh no, Gary.
What comes after that? Is it very mindful?
I'm very mindful, very
Very
cutesy,
mindful,
very
very demure, very
demure.
cutesy.
And the way they say it, it's like very, I don't know. It's not for me. And then you said you started seeing it
Yep.
all over. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, yeah, like with Rodri, it's also the fact, like you mentioned, he was the player that was complaining the most and speaking out for the players and suggesting that they would be going on strike. And now he's the player that will be missing the season. It's so heartbreaking for football. And you would hope that maybe some decisions would be made to see, a player of this stature in the biggest league, at the biggest club, get injured, that something would change. But I really doubt that anything will come of this. Alex, you put together some ideas of players that potentially Manchester United, never again. No. Manchester City, excuse me, will look into to replace Rodri in the January transfer window?
Yeah, I mean, these are options. Obviously, maybe some of them are pie in the sky and they're not going to happen. But the first one, obviously, I looked for someone in the club, and it's Mateo Kovacic, which feels like the sensible option. You compare the stats, it's hard to reach Rodri's level. Interceptions, recoveries, duels. He doesn't even reach half of what, he's barely reaching half of what Rodri produces. And I think when you look at his performances, yes, he's been solid, but the quality is definitely there with Rodri, and he's lacking a tiny bit when you look at Kovacic's ability to fill in that role. Outside the club, there's a few options. You can look at Zubimendi, you can look at Adam Wharton. Obviously, Arsenal tried to go for Zubimendi in the summer, didn't quite get him. He said he wanted to stay at Real Sociedad. Adam Wharton moved to Crystal Palace last season from Blackburn. He's been, the revelation in young players in English football, and obviously didn't quite get his chance at the Euros. But these are a few options. You look at perhaps the energy levels of Zubimendi and Wharton and how potentially they could, fill that gap with the interceptions that they're averaging. These are stats from last season in the league. Wharton obviously only playing 16 games for Crystal Palace, coming in from Blackburn in January. But when you look at what Rodri does, it's unbelievable. 92% pass accuracy. He averages almost one interception a game, 7 recoveries, 6 duels won. Possession, to be fair, he loses the ball actually more than the other 3, but when you look at the stats that the other 3 bring, it's nowhere near as good as Rodri. So I think it's a tough job for Man City to fill that role, but I think it's probably, knowing what they're looking at and knowing the situation with Rodri, I think they'll stick with Kovacic and probably even look at the likes of John Stones, who has been known to fill that midfield role, Rico Lewis, who can play in that more central role as well. So I doubt they're going to bring someone in January, but these are some of the possible options that they could bring in.
I think also why Rodri has the most possession loss there is because he has the most possession out of all those 3, right? Ratio game. Gary, talk to me here. What do you think about Alex's possible suggestions for an attempt to replace Rodri? Because we know that he is irreplaceable.
Well, Kovacic will be I'll trust Kovacic to carry the mantle. I mean, he's got everything in his locker, and I think I was going to say we underestimate Kovacic, but that's wrong. Nobody underestimates Kovacic, to be fair. He's shown it, at at the highest level for club and country, and he's that good. But in terms of the sheer number of games that are coming between now and January, and then until whenever Rodri comes, he might need some help. So, and City can afford it. So, of the players that Alex mentioned, who fits into Pep style, that will also be a question, Alex. That will also be a question. Is it Adam Wharton? I think he's more malleable. And Pep has, surprisingly for me, actually, he's been refreshingly open to working with English players, and they seem to be able to assimilate his instructions. So I think that probably works for him. Zubimendi is quality, blah, blah, blah. But I think that Adam Wharton, it will be too soon for him to leave his new employers. And so I think that might be a problem. And so, yeah, that's for that reason, Crystal Palace are not going to let him go immediately. But if Watson is available and, his mind is in the Pep Guardiola mode, I would go for him as well. But any of the two other options in Zubimendi and Watson do it for me. Otherwise, I'm happy if Kovacic is able to, take the workload and all that. I'm happy to go with him and trust him in those duties because he understands the team. He's part of the team. He's top class. He's done it for club and country. And I mean, he's a dream too. He's a dream player. That's Kovacic. I think that every team he's played with, he has a certain IQ that we probably don't appreciate because he makes it also as easy as Rodri. He keeps things simple. He's not flashy, and he just does the job with no fuss. So yes, my first option would absolutely be Kovacic.
I was very surprised when Chelsea got rid of him, actually. I think that's probably...
Classic Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, one of City's best signings over the last couple of years, and I think a lot of Chelsea fans were surprised that the club got rid of him. Yes, looking back at it, there may have been the reasons, but a few other options that you could talk about. Bruno Guimaraes, Lucas Paquetá, who's a little bit more of a further forward player, but can play in that deeper role. But I think he'll go for a John Stones or Rico Lewis if Mateo Kovacic needs a rest.
Yeah, just really quickly on Kovacic, because I think people always forget how much he has accomplished in his career. He's a very underrated footballer, but he's won LaLiga with Real Madrid and 3-time Champions League winner with Real Madrid. He won the Champions League with Chelsea. He was the runner-up in the World Cup to France, of course. He's won the Premier League. He's the runner-up in the Nations League. He's competed. He's won the FIFA Club World Cup, the Supercopa de España. He's really won almost everything, at least at club level, that he has. And he's done it with a couple of clubs as well. So, I mean, I agree with you guys. But here, Roland and Markandé have said kind of both that Pep is going to devise a way to play without Rodri, because this is what Pep does. They're going to make a system work without Rodri. And, that's what Guardiola is so good at. He's good at moving the puzzle pieces and figuring out, okay, this is what I have. I'm going to get the best out of, like you said, Kovacic now is I would not be shocked as if he slots Kovacic into Rodri's position and Kovacic has the season of a lifetime. Because do you remember what he did with John Stones last season or 2 seasons ago now? And we've seen what he's been able to get out of certain players because he gets the best out of every player he plays with. And that's why he's such a talented manager. Yeah,
I think, they'll be fine. But I think the one stat is something that surprised me a lot. Obviously, maybe surprise is the wrong word, but it shocks you how big of an influence Rodri has on that squad. Mm-hmm. Since, I think it's 2019 or 20, the difference between Man City winning with Rodri and without Rodri is unbelievable. So it's, if any player they were going to lose other than Haaland, he's probably the worst player they could have lost. But as you said, Pep is the best manager in the world. And I think,
Alex, I just want to say that, once you were trotting out the accolades for Kovacic, I mean, obviously I knew it, but hearing it being said like that, just, sometimes that, this player is good until somebody actually says he's done this, that. And I would wager that you know what Rodri was in last 2 seasons before he won the Euros, and he's become an absolute shoe-in for the Ballon d'Or. Kovacic is that sort of player. That is, if Croatia were to win, say, the Euros in the next international tournament, then we would all be screaming, give him Ballon d'Or, because then, he might have won the Premier League, and he's in that territory now. Because Rodri would not have been in the Ballon d'Or conversation had he not won the Euros. Well, he should have been, arguably. Kovacic is in that rarefied kind of group where he's done so much and he's in a team that he makes it tick so much that if you took out Rodri from that list and let's say Rodri were transferred to some other team, Kovacic suddenly becomes the top whatever. What were the statistics? Pass completion, whatever in Manchester City and then in the whole of Europe. And I agree with you, Sarah. Watch out for a Pep Guardiola masterclass with Kovacic, where he's going to tune the man's mind to a new frequency, and he's going to do new things.
Excuse me. What's so scary is that even though they're losing, I'd say their most important player, because we saw when they lost Kevin De Bruyne what happened to Haaland. So I think it's between Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne before we bring Haaland into that conversation. But now I'm starting to think, This is going to be somehow a blessing in disguise for City, isn't it? Because Pep's going to look into his little magical, potion and, find his players that he wants and put them in and then bring the best out of them. And we're going to be sitting here like, why did we ever question him? What were we thinking? It's going to be one of those. Let's move along, though, quickly, because we only have a few minutes left, and there is another big Premier League team in action in the Carabao Cup, and that is Mr. Alex Ashmore's side, Chelsea. Chelsea. Now, Chelsea have a big match over the weekend, as we highlighted yesterday. Brighton and Chelsea taking on one another. They're coming off a big win to West Ham. A Nico Jackson masterclass, if you will. Sorry, because Klinton isn't here, I had to bring his name up. It's what we do. If Klinton, you know how it is. Obviously, Cole Palmer as well, scoring a beautiful, brilliant goal. Really the backbone of that team. But I want to say that Chelsea should win this match, but there's still something about Chelsea that we're trying to figure out. We haven't really put a pin on how these guys are doing so far.
Yeah, I don't think Chelsea fans should get ahead of themselves. It's a good win against West Ham. It was a good performance. It's good to see Nicholas Jackson getting the goals, and I think he does get a lot of, unfair criticism from
Klinton Cod.
from pundits, namely Klinton Cod, about his performances. I think yes, he could have been a lot more clinical last season, but he's still got double figures in goals. It's not a bad first season for someone who's come from LaLiga, perhaps, arguably isn't at the level of a club like Chelsea, who should be competing for Champions League spots, competing for Premier League titles. So to have that first season is a good stepping stone. And I think it's good to see him getting a good start to this season as well and getting used to his teammates. There's a whole lot of them. I know he has to get used to more than perhaps he would be used to, but I think we can't get ahead of ourselves as Chelsea fans. We have to, take it slowly. Enzo Maresca seems to be building things in the right direction. They seem to be, building a squad that could compete for a Champions League spot, but it's early season. There hasn't even been 10 games yet. There's a long way to go. We're only in September. I think we have to stay calm for a little bit. If by December, January, we're still in contention for a Champions League spot, who knows? Then we start getting a little bit more confident, but it could go downhill, and there's still a lot of time for it to go downhill.
It is a rotated squad here. You have, Mudryk coming in, Joao Felix getting the start, Christopher Nkunku, giving Cole Palmer a breather, obviously, with the big match over the weekend. Obviously, one eye here, one eye over Brighton. But I guess the one thing is, Gary, with this Chelsea side is they have so many players that they can just, flip through their little file cabinet and say, all right, this one we can bring him in now. No, he keep him on the bench. I mean, it's maybe one good thing that Enzo Maresca has over some other teams right now regarding Chelsea.
Well, we criticise them for having such a big squad, but everyone else is complaining about there being too many games.
Chelsea's
Maybe this was a genius plan after all.
There you go. What do you think, Gary?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I listened to him in the pre-match, and he was saying that, you can't underestimate the opposition. I mean, the standard talk when a Premier League club meets this kind of opposition. But genuinely, you just have a feeling that he just doesn't want to take any chances, because like every loss is going to be magnified, is going to be amplified, is going to be blown out of proportion. So he just wants to ensure. Remember when Jose Mourinho was around at Chelsea, like if he was going to meet Bury, if he was going to meet Dagenham and Red, he would still trot out the starting 11 like he was going to play in the Champions League final and absolutely crush you. Like he wanted absolutely no surprises. So the team you have named, it's not bad. It's quite a strong team, isn't it? And I'm not surprised he's doing that. He wants to get them into a groove more than anything, because they don't seem to have that identity yet. Like you said in your introduction, Alex, Chelsea fans shouldn't be too happy because you can't figure out exactly what they are doing. These are the games that you want to use to build confidence and tweak a few things because the opposition is not too strong to figure you out and to punish you for some of the mistakes. So, yeah, I'm fully expecting a Chelsea win, but I'm expecting not too many changes by Enzo Maresca, yeah.
All right. Well, Markanday says that this is a trial match for Mudryk today. It is now or never, and we know how Klinton Cod feels
Now or
about
never.
that. So let's see what Mikhail Mudryk pulls out of the bag. But that is it for us today, guys. We will be back again tomorrow talking more midweek football. There's La Liga, there's Carabao Cup. But for now, enjoy Aston Villa and Wickham, and we will see you tomorrow.
Carabao